Good afternoon. I'm Dave Fields. I'm the Director of Risk Management and Benefits for the school
Check that
board.
out. Does
I'm
that
also
work?
here with Brendan and Nancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got it.
Good.
Brendan. You got one? Oh. I was going to introduce all our VIPs in a few minutes, but we'll do Tony twice because he's got like 10 hats. Tony Jones, he told me just to say Baxter's Place, but we all know the ex-chief of police, Tony Jones. Thank you.
Got a lot going on this time of year. There's a lot of announcements. If you have an announcement to make, please come up and we'll introduce yourselves and make your announcement.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Why am I here? What am I talking about? I'm talking about seafood, right? Seafood Spectacular this Thursday, 5:30. Hope everybody will join us. Appreciate all the help we had last Saturday. I had 30 people out helping with getting the grounds in order out at Hatchet Creek. We had all 4 clubs represented. Again, if you know who you are, thank you very much for coming out. It was a lot of hands make things get done, and it was awesome. And had great fellowship too. We all had lunch together, so a lot of fun. Today is the last day that this club can buy tickets, 5 for $250. Or more at $50 each, or individual price $60. After that, the tickets go up to $75. So today's the day to get your tickets bought. Come over here and see Wes after the meeting and get your tickets. And the other clubs will be selling their tickets on their days, and then they're cut off. So remember that. And anyway, we're looking forward to a great evening. It's going to be, temperatures are going to be in the 50s. We're going to have a big bonfire going out there. So please, everybody come out, bring your guests, bring your friends, family, enjoy some delicious seafood from Northwest Seafood and the Culinary Institute for our Eastside High School. And again, thank you so much. Last thing I'll ask is if anybody is off on a Thursday morning and wants to come out and help set up tables, I could use some hands. Come out at 10 o'clock in the morning out at Hatchet Creek, set up some tables and chairs. It would be a great help. So thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Eric Dutton. I'm the president of a nonprofit called We Belong. Thank you, Amber Miller, for hosting me today. And I'm here to announce our first initiative, which is Belong Festival. It's an event happening at First Magnitude this Sunday at 3 o'clock. The way it essentially is a club fair for the whole town. The purpose of this is to get people in connection with other people through joining groups and organizations that have a common purpose that meet in person on a regular basis. We're here to fight the loneliness and isolation epidemic, which can severely impact people's health and well-being. How many of you have made friends through Rotary Club? Yeah, this is a big thing, and not everybody has the infrastructure in their lives to meet people. They are not in school, maybe they don't meet people through work, maybe they're not in church, and people are really looking for connection and community, and so we're here to make that happen. So please come on out on Sunday, First Magnitude. I have a flyer if you want one, and there's still a little bit of time to have a table out there. There should be 20 groups. Junior League is going to be one of them, so I'd be very happy to see you out there. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Helen Gilstrom. No jokes today. This is not a funny subject. I don't have to tell this group that food insecurity is an issue in our community. I communicated with Patrick over the weekend, fellow Rotarian, director of the Bread of the Mighty. We are hanging tough, but it's pretty terrifying right now. A whole lot of uncertainty and panic, and we just don't have enough. So, as you know, we do the Bread of the Mighty Food Bank collection in December. I'm doing what we call a soft opening of contributions. Many of you had asked me if we were going to do it in December, and I know you were ready to do it now. So, let's not hold up, because obviously there's a great need. We will still be back in December with all the noise and the jokes and all that, but right now, this is just, we're doing it now. because of the need. We have a lot of big stuff coming to this club in the next few weeks, and we don't want to trample on it. But if you want to give to the bread of the mighty, I have yet to ever turn down money. So, see me later. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Man, if I'd known Tony Jones was here, I'd have made a really good speech about Crimson Tide. Roll Tide, Tony Jones. They now all know you're from Alabama. Okay, I suspect that a river trip up to that is going to be a big moneymaker this year for Sustainable Cambodia. And I can attest, being a guest of Ed, not once, but twice, is a lifetime memorable experience. Well, at a paddling event this April, I was the winner of this beautiful boat. You have a picture on it in your table. And I would love to own it, but due to the fact that I already had, and the proud owner of 4 kayaks and 1 canoe, I decided to donate it to Sustainable Cambodia. Clear win for both of us. If you buy this kayak, which is on the roof of my car outside, not only do you get 2 trips with Bill, probably par with being 1 on the water with that. And after the second trip, you will be the expert paddler and you get to keep the boat. Thank you.
Well, Ellen did a soft opening for fighting hunger. I'm doing a hard closing for the Ethics in Business Award. This award, we've been issuing it for years now. The deadline for submitting your nomination for a worthy business or individual is this Friday. So please give consideration. I'm very happy that we have so many guests here because everybody can make a nomination. You don't have to be a Rotarian. Please consider someone who holds up the ethics and business mantle to the degree with which we've become accustomed under this award. So if you need a nomination form, just contact me. There's a sheet of paper, there's a pad of paper on the table. Just write down my email, scott.winsler@gmail.com. I'll send you a nomination form. All nominations received by this Friday will be considered. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Victoria. I work in International Student Services at UF. Thank you, Rogers, wherever you are, for the invitation today to this Rotary Club for the opportunity.
So I'm going to go up. I'm going to stay on this camera because this is on.
I'm here on behalf of the International Center to welcome you to participation in the Friendship Families, a student engagement program which aims to combat isolation during holidays, as well as bringing cultures together and celebrating what counts. International students are paired with interested Gainesville neighbors during significant U.S. cultural events and holidays. Families are expected to share their traditions with international students so they can experience how our community celebrates these important days. Students are also expected to share their own culture with their friends while participating in experiences that widen their perspectives. In addition to holidays, you might also consider events such as a picnic at a local park or a backyard cookout, a nature walk, or a browsing local festival. We encourage both students and their friendship families to check in with each other monthly and try to connect in person every 4 to 6 weeks. So mostly throughout the academic year, but we are recruiting now because Thanksgiving is coming up. So there's a flyer on your table which has the QR code where you can sign up if you are interested. Please feel free also to reach out to me with any questions. There are 2 steps in the sign-up process. If you have a Gatorland email account, you can sign up that way. If not, there are other options on the website as well. But again, please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much, and go Gators.
I'd just like to briefly add that this coming weekend, right over there at Hartwood, our very own Jeff Sims will be playing music as part of Tom Petty Weekend, and so yours truly. So if you want to see some great music and tribute to Tom Petty, right over there at Hartwood this weekend. Now, without further ado, our fearless leader, John Thomas.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. Appreciate everybody joining us today. I love seeing all the guests here
with us. We had a great time on Saturday. As Dwight said, we had a great turnout for the workday. Looking forward to Thursday night. We also had a great time at the park. On your table, there are many sheets on your table. There is a sheet of all the upcoming events. I forgot to put bell ring on there, but that's going to be in December. And a sign-up sheet for our most newest event, which is Backpack for Kids, which I need 15 volunteers for.
Are you going to run it?
Put your name on there. I'll send out an email.
and use the camera when he's
afterwards. And with that, we have a wonderful presentation, so I'll let you introduce her. Yes.
Really good crowd today. This is great. I know you all have heard the phrase, our speakers today need no introduction. And it's never been more true than it is today. I am in awe of the speakers we have today to enlighten us with their vast experience and passion in things that they believe strongly. Please join me in welcoming Brendan, Dr. Nancy, and Adam Gursky.
Thank you, Randy. I am humbled today to be joined by two wonderful people who we're going to try technically to bring them to you, one through Zoom, like Oz standing behind my shoulder. Hopefully that'll work. Nancy couldn't join us in person, so we will hope that the audio works, and please bear with us if it doesn't. Secondly, Adam is in the crowd, so I'm going to introduce him in a minute. In fact, let's have him stand right now, but he's going to be speaking, of course, today. And I'm going to have everybody stand who I introduce at this point. We've introduced people from around the community to help us talk about this today and also lead each table in a little bit of an activity later on. So hopefully that would be interactive and fun for you to do. Just try to change it up for you a little bit today so you don't get too bored. But this is a really huge and important issue today, childhood homelessness, something that sort of hit Nancy and I kind of like a Mack truck by surprise this year, and we're trying to take it on. Some people think we're very foolish, and we probably are. But we're going to talk about it anyway, and hope we can do something about it. But let's please have the following people stand up in the room after I introduce you, and stay standing until I'm introduced everybody, please. Pamela Worsham, please. Where you at? Pamela represents the Alachua County Public School System and is a homeless liaison, as Amber was already talking about. Sherry Jones. Sherry was our local director of Family Promise, and she was promoted to the entire section of this part of the country. So we are very honored to have her today. And Rachel Ryan, her, I guess we'll call it heir to the crown, is right back there. Rachel Ryan, director of Family Promise now. Marcia Kiner, where are you at? Marcia Kiner, Children's Trust, president, CEO, director. I'm going to call her everything I can. She's just an amazing lady. David Fields, where are you at? David is representing the Alachua County Public School System, also part of the risk management for them, and also we had a great meeting with the Alachua County Public School System. We're going to cooperate with them to try to solve this problem. And then Tony Jones bears no need for an introduction, but again, Baxter's Place, ex-chief, and man of all trades, Renaissance man. And we thank you all for coming, and please pay attention to them if they're at your table, and if they're not at your table, please try to help us out when we do our activity. But anyway, thank you all. You may be seated. Oh, sorry.
Could you please introduce Faye Williams?
Faye Williams, where are you at, Faye? Please stand up. Faye, hi. Welcome, Faye. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Faye. Appreciate it. Didn't get you on my list, and I apologize. So anyway, thank you all so much. They'll be your leaders for the table activity later. Okay, so thank you. Okay, so now we're going to attempt to buzz in Nancy and pin her to the Zoom and have her say a few words, and then I'm going to introduce a few topics, and then we're going to turn it over to Adam.
Hi, everybody. I can't see you, but can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm really happy that so many people showed up today to hear us talk about what we think is a really important topic, and that's children who don't have a place to live. And you might wonder how I got interested in this, because you know I'm interested in all kinds of other things related to children. And the first inkling I had that this was an issue was when I worked in Memphis, Tennessee in mother-baby health. I found out that when a woman comes to prenatal clinic in Memphis, Tennessee, they ask her where she is staying. They don't ask her where she lives. They ask her where she is staying. And I was so shocked to find this out from my obstetrical colleagues there. And they said, well, if she has a lab test that's abnormal and we have to get back in touch with her, we have to find her. So we ask them every week where they are staying. Then the next thing that happened was I read the annual report of the Child Center. You're all aware of the Child Center. It's over in Swag. It's a state-of-the-art, fantastic early learning facility that the parents love. The kids are doing great there. But I found out when I read their annual report that 30% of the children did not finish the year that they began. And so I started asking, even though the parents were thrilled, the kids were thrilled, they were doing great, where do these kids go? And I learned from Dorothy Thomas that they disappear from Swag area. They don't continue living there, and that's how they lose some of the children that enroll. So then after that, I did a 10-year look back at the data in Swag. You know, I've been working on that for a pretty long time. And I was shocked to find out that a lot of the improvements and the gains that we made in the first 4 years there actually had begun to swing back. So I tried to figure out a way to publish this because it wasn't exactly the kind of news you want to publish. And I got a student from anthropology, a grad student, to help me. And she said, well, Dr. Hardt, you need to look at how many people still live there after 3 years or 4 years. And that's when I found out that the reason 30% of the children don't finish the year at the Child Center is because 30% of the people don't live there anymore. They are evicted. So then I read the book Evicted by Matthew Desmond, and I was shocked to find out from that book that the most common people to be evicted are single mothers with children. And then I went to my gal pals, the women who get shit done, you know them all. And they said, okay, Nance, if we're going to work on homes for children, you're going to be in charge of it because you got kind of a pass while you were still working, but now you're retired. So you're taking this on. And so we got out a whiteboard and made a list of people to work on this. And the first person I put on the list was Brendan Shortley. The reason I put Brendan on the list is because he and I had started the Safety Net Collaborative together, and that was a health issue. But I knew that Brendan knew more than anyone else I knew about homelessness in adults. And I wanted to ask him what he knew about it. And I hope he tells you that I shocked him when I told him that McKinney-Vento had identified approximately 1,000 children in our school system. This is not children who are not in school, but only children in school who don't have a valid address because they float around. And that's when we decided that we were going to start Housing First for Children, a collaborative. And that's who's reporting to you here today. And let me just add that it was Dorothy Thomas who said, you must meet Adam Gursky. You can't have a collaborative on this without meeting Adam Gursky. So this is your triumvirate that's going to be speaking to you today about this really interesting, shockingly important issue.
Okay, thank you, Nancy, and nobody can say better than her on why we were at this, why we're going to continue to be at this for probably years to come. But hopefully you can help us with that. We'll talk about that later. Let me make sure that the slide got up. Okay, great. All right, so first of all, I want to make sure that we all realize that we are shocked as maybe you're going to about to be after you hear some numbers, more numbers than what Nancy just said. We have been doing, and some people in the room know this, a point-in-time survey, which you've heard about in the newspapers, we've talked about for years, doing it for decades, where we count the number of homeless in our community. And we always thought we were getting a handle on things. We started at our peak of homelessness in our whole history of our community was in 2013, we had over 2,000 homeless. And we started Grace Marketplace, did a few more things. We kept bringing in the Housing First model, which is a very new model back in the day, and discovered that it's making a dent. Now, we should be proud as a community because essentially the Housing First model was something that wasn't working nationwide. I'll show you some of that on the slide. All right, so this is the national trend, okay? As you can see, it's going up, especially as of late. Okay, homelessness has been on the rise since 2016. But in our community, it went down, okay? This is a graph of our homeless in our community since 2011. So as you can see, that peak I just talked about in 2013, we're still very, very much better than that. So we were all celebrating, yay, yay, happy, we're so proud of ourselves. Well, we're blind to the fact that there were a bunch of children. Those surveys I just mentioned pointed out maybe 10 homeless children, okay? Obviously, we just couldn't find them. We couldn't find them. We didn't realize to go to the school, and when we did, we were shocked. We were totally shocked. Nancy and I and Adam were just like, what is going on? So our elevator speech that we tell people is right here. And I'll read it in case it's a little small to read. There's a link between vulnerably housed children, homeless, couch surfing, doubled up, living in cars, whatever, and absenteeism from school. There is a link between absenteeism and not achieving reading math at grade level. And there is no literacy curriculum or testing regime that will help vulnerably housed children read at the grade level. They need housing first. You're not going to do this if you're a marginally housed child. You're just not going to care what you read or what you learn. You're just not, okay, as much as you should. And that's the point of this, guys. Okay, this is our future. Okay, I don't want to get all emotional here, and I'm starting to feel myself get that, so I'm going to try to pull back and just say, this is something that we all care about, I hope, and I hope we can try to solve it together. So, what are we talking about? Where do we go? What's the housing ladder? What are we trying to do? Okay, so obviously, living in the raw, living out in nowhere, okay, where nobody can be, surviving for a long period of time, especially a child, okay? Living in a shelter, okay, is the next step in the ladder. Okay, living in rental housing, Grace Marketplace, for example, when we started that. Standard rent, okay, rent vouchers, assisted living, you name it. Okay, getting up the scale to regular rent, paying your own bills. Okay, and then of course, triplex condos, you name it. And then, of course, home ownership. And now, of course, I shock people when I say that I have the most sympathy for those willing to help themselves. And I also shock people when I say that not everybody who's homeless deserves all the things we do, okay? I'm not here to be a blind person that campaigns for somebody who is not deserving, right, perhaps, but it's not our job to judge who deserves it, is what I'm going to say in the same breath, okay? If 2 or 3 or 4 people out of the 10 deserve it, in your opinion, okay, whatever's opinion, God's opinion judges, then it's worth it, okay, guys? So we're not here to judge, and that's the whole point of this. Okay, so Nancy mentioned a little bit of those numbers. No, we don't have 10, we don't have 20, we don't have 100, we don't have 200 homeless in this community. We have 1,000. Okay, 1,000 kids in this community. Okay, this is local data. And based on the caption on the right there, on the McKinney-Vento, which a lot of you don't know about, but those who do, a very accurate way to measure childhood homelessness and other things, they even admit that they're about half as efficient as they should be at counting. So this number could be 2,000 now. Okay, it's crazy. All right, so what are the signs of student homelessness? Okay, poor health and nutrition. Okay, medical care, obviously in Helping Hands we try to do that, but there is a link between homelessness and depression, heart conditions, diabetes, even from a youth age on up. It's double to triple, depression. Social and behavioral concerns, of course, with kids especially, poor hygiene, of course, and the peer pressure and the peer abuse, we'll call it, from others, when you're not looking just like you should in their eyes. Lack of personal space after school, transportation and attendance, okay, stigma or poor reactions, okay. In other words, it's a stigma, okay, not to mention everything else. All right, so I have many more slides to do, but I am purposely holding back because I want to leave the rest of the floor for Adam. So Adam, please come on up.
Thank you all just like Nancy and Brendan, I want to start with what started me in this conversation. And just as you've heard, it was the numbers. I was sitting in a luncheon just like this, the Realtor Association, and heard at the time somewhere around 600 homeless kids in this county, and I couldn't believe that. You don't see homeless kids. We see panhandlers. We see the problem, but we don't see the kids. And that number was just shocking. And so I was a baby realtor, a baby out of college, and what am I going to do? And I joined a board. And I knew that I didn't have money at the time. I didn't have any expertise, but I had time and I had passion. And all these years later, working for many years with Family Promise, I still stand here and we still have a problem. And so now the message is, how do we get other people to see the problem? How do we get you to lean in? Because as Brendan shared, 1,001 students is just mind-numbing. And that doesn't count pre-K kids. So the number gets higher. As we talked about, we're not seeing them, thank you, because they're doubled up. They're living with friends, family, they're couch surfing, they're in motels, they're sleeping in cars, vans, sheds, you name it. And it's real. And there's organizations in town that interact with these families. And our message here is, how do you help them properly? How do you help a kid have a chance when they don't have a house? And so for me, today, it's really about perspective. It's sharing with us that we're here enjoying lunch with people that we enjoy, and friends and colleagues and community leaders, but we're privileged to be sitting here, having these things that many don't. And so I just want us all to think about, what can you do? What little message do you hear today that you think to yourself, I could help, I could lean in, I could do more. And so as we sit here today and we're blessed and we're here, we drove here in a car that we own. We have gas, we have a house. We might be thinking about what we're doing for dinner, where we're watching a Gator football game, where we're going for Thanksgiving, holidays, and just imagine you not knowing where you're going after work. And I say that after work because the big misnomer is that these folks are not working. And they are working, and they're working hard. But we all know costs have done nothing but go up exponentially in the past few years. And we have a lot of families that are really what we called for years as working poor, but now it's some asset limited, income constrained, employed. So folks that are trying to make it and just can't. So the other why, I heard that number at a luncheon. I said, I've got to do something, I've got to step up. I joined the board. And when we used to have every board meeting, we'd have some kind of letter of gratitude or a photo, just keeping the momentum. How do you stay engaged, and how do you raise more money, and how do you get more people involved? And we had this picture drawn by a 7-year-old, thanking us for giving him a place to live. And if that doesn't hit you, I don't know what will. So, you take those messages, you take these real kids, and you humanize them. Because we can all talk to you about facts and figures and statistics, but they're kids in this school district. And just to give you another piece of perspective, that number, 1,001, roughly one student in every single classroom in this community. And again, that's shocking. How is that even possible? But groups like you, organizations like Family Promise are doing the work. They do have some answers, but they need us. They need us on boards. They need you to donate. They need you to lend leadership. They need you to get your friends, your colleagues, your businesses engaged. And they need us all to be part of the solution, because there are many, many thoughts about homelessness. But one thing we can all agree on in this room is that no child deserves to be homeless. And a child doesn't make any decision that got them there. So the next piece, we've mentioned the numbers, but I also want to talk to you briefly about how this happens. Because and even to differentiate between chronic homelessness, situational homelessness, which is really what we're dealing with. And so when I talk to you about these kids that are homeless, most of them, it's been short term. Something has happened in life that could happen to any of us, and it's the snowball effect. Your car breaks down, you can't get to work, you lose your job, you lose your house, you have an illness in the family, you don't have health insurance. Any number of issues, a death in the family, divorce, these are not folks that are chronically homeless, typically. And so that population, and I know we all hear about it, who maybe is at Grace Marketplace or who is panhandling, there's a big difference. And so a lot of these families, they're not facing substance abuse. They're not facing chronic mental health issues. They're not lazy, and they are employed. So I just think that's important to know that these are folks that are really, really, really trying to help themselves. And the kids ultimately are the ones that suffer. And what we see is this trend of generational poverty that if you don't start to fix the root of the problem, they're underperforming in school, they're more likely to repeat the pattern because this is the only normalcy they know, and they're more likely to have health issues, all of which come back to us as a society that we are then continuing to have to help this problem. The other thing I want to touch on, of course, a lot of time as a volunteer in a lot of different capacities, but as a realtor, I can tell you the cost of housing has definitely gone up. It's gone up exponentially, especially since the pandemic. And so the entry level, just to get into a house, and let's take away even homeownership of that entry level rental, $27 an hour for entry level, just to qualify. So again, I think it's hard for some of us to think, especially if you've owned your home or you've lived somewhere for a long time, maybe you're kind of in a bubble because you're not out there looking. And I always tell people in a room, many of you may not be able to afford the home you live in today. And that's kind of a shocking fact, to really think about how expensive things have become. And has your income gone up relative to that housing cost? And for most, the answer is no. And so again, I just want to make sure to paint that picture that it's the problem, the systemic problem in the housing issue. Why we need to focus on this. The other thing I will touch on is, of course, we know that there is funding out there. If the Housing Authority was here, they would tell you they have a long, long, long wait list. And Family Promise would tell you they have a long, long, long wait list. And we just heard someone speak about Brand the Mighty, and they don't have enough funding. There's a wait list. And so that again is why I'm here, just to educate everybody and bring us all up to speed and then figure out how we can fix this. All right, so what I will do, and Brendan and I will kind of tag team this, we want to lay the groundwork of why we're here, why we're passionate, and what the problem is. Now how can we jump into being solutions oriented? How can we, as a group of leaders in this community, put pen to paper and say, what other groups need to hear this message? What businesses? What community organizers like Nancy? Who else is missing to be at this table and hear this presentation? Brendan, if you've got anything else.
Yes, Adam and I are going to combine on this because we're trying to get you into this a little bit. This is a little different, I know, but we're doing this on purpose because we value your intelligence, your wisdom, your experience. You are the leaders of this community. We're maybe not thinking about something that you can tell us and suggest. We've only been meeting for a little while. We're not here with solutions. We're here with a presentation and also an appeal. Okay, so the leaders you just that we just mentioned, we introduced, obviously they're going to lead you a little bit, or at least encourage you to grab those pens and pads on your tables. There's 2 per table, so feel free to grab one. And if you're not able to or want to say out loud verbally with the microphone, we're going to pass around the microphone with questions too, at the same time as we're asking you to write down 2 things. an organization that maybe you think we should go speak at, and maybe you have an in with that we can talk to you about, so write your name next to it also. And what ideas do you have? What should we do? What other avenues should we pursue? Now, we've obviously dealt with a lot and talked about a lot. Assume we haven't, okay? Assume this is brand new. I want you to, even if it's something we've heard, we don't care. This is a non-judgmental thing. We just want you to brainstorm with us, okay? This is a big and important opportunity. We don't get very much in this community, let's face it. The Safety Net Collaborative does great things for healthcare, but this is our own collaborative. You go, are you on with me? This is the brain trust right here. We're looking for you to tell us what you think, tell us what you know, and ask us a question. Don't be shy, okay? And I'm hoping that somebody can pass around the microphone while we're doing that, or go from there. Folks come around with questions, please jump in with a question.
Yes, if this is a problem in Gainesville, Alachua County, what is happening in the United States? What is the United States doing? Other states, other cities, other counties with the same problem?
That's a great question, by the way. Sorry? Oh, his question was, what are other counties doing, other states doing? This is a great, good news story to start with. We've always thought for years that we were behind. Okay, Gainesville's a small town, let's face it, compared to Minneapolis and Atlanta and places like that. We always thought we were behind the times. Turns out we're not. Okay, it turns out homelessness in a national picture is going the wrong way. Okay, we're one of the few communities in the country where homelessness is going the right way. Okay, so whatever we're doing, you know, however ignorant we may be, it's doing something. And we're planning on applying a lot of those principles to this issue, childhood homelessness. But it has so many different factors, facets, and difficulties, let's face it. That's what we're looking to do. So I think we're on the right track. The homelessness housing first model, I think, is a good one. Family Promise, though, two people in this room, the most important people to tell you, is overwhelmed, okay? They are overwhelmed. They have a wait list of hundreds of families, okay? So just to say, oh, just give them the Family Promise, there are communities, there's infrastructure in place in this community to solve it. They're overwhelmed, y'all. Okay, that's why we're trying to help them solve this, okay? Obviously, this isn't the first time you talk about childhood homelessness, but it's not something that can be fixed without other solutions. You know, it's overwhelming, daunting task. But all the different apparatuses in place, we think we're doing something. If Adam wants to add something, I apologize for that long-winded answer. Sorry? Okay. We're hoping you can multitask, but okay. So if you haven't asked a question or you're not planning to, please grab that tablet right now and write down your name and any organization we could speak at and any questions or anything you might want to introduce. Say, how about you guys try this? And if you don't want to say it on the microphone, say it on the tablet. We're going to take all these and put them in a document and share them at all our meetings and talk about them and brainstorm on them. So we were hoping to multitask your way into sort of giving us ideas. Some people don't like to talk on the microphone, and that was our purpose behind it. And also, we want you to introduce organizations we can speak at. So I apologize, Bill, for throwing too much there. I'm sorry, but hopefully you can write down what you know.
Wait, Brandon. I wonder what's the cost per family at Family Promise? I mean, if we needed to double the capacity of Family Promise, how much does it cost per family?
Great question. I hope my VIPs can answer that. Sherry, you've been with us for years at Family Promise.
So, due to everything increasing, you want something? Oh, okay. Due to everything increasing, like for a 2-bedroom, the average cost is $1,583 a month. If we are trying to stabilize a family, we usually work with them at least 90 days. So that's 3 times $1,583 on top of paying first, last, and security. So we're looking at $50,000 just to move them into a place and stabilize them for that 90 days. Not including GRU. We actually, Rachel just actually told me they had paid $1,500 just for a deposit for somebody to get their lights on. So the money that Family Promise does get in for rental assistance is dwindling because they're paying to just stabilize one family that they can't serve another. And that's the issue that we're seeing. They're working, they're trying to do what they are supposed to do, but then a tire breaks, and now they have to help them with that difference. So on average, if you want to say the lifetime of how long they serve a family, we're looking at $8,000 to $9,000.
And this might be the perfect time to mention, I was given permission to mention that Family Promise does run on money too, and they will take donations. And you can even earmark them for the Children's Coalition if you want, the housing for us, but with children. But we don't have our own account, but Sherry is very nice about that.
So you know me, but not everybody knows me. I'm Amber Miller. I'm the CEO for United Way, North Central Florida. So we would be interested in being a resource because we do study ALICE, the Asset Limited Income Constraint. We fund that report and that study every year for our community, along with all of the other United Ways across the state of Florida, to be able to have that data here. So in Alachua County, we're looking at 32% of households are ALICE. They're the ones that are struggling to make ends meet. And we have another 15-16% that do meet federal poverty levels. So the problem is that if you are ALICE, you are earning too much money to qualify for any kind of government benefit. You cannot get SNAP, you can't get TANF, you can't get those things. And so those are the families that are that one crisis away from falling into homelessness. So for our organization this year alone to date, we've helped over 55 households at $110,000 to keep them from being evicted. That's their rent that they're falling behind on, or utilities that they've fallen behind on. So happy to be a resource if we can, to partner, give some information and data. We are trying to solve that. We are gonna have an ALICE, United for ALICE Catalyst grant coming out here in the next week or two for $25,000 for our smaller nonprofits to be able to expand their capacity and serve the ALICE households, because there isn't funding for that. Most of the organizations we work with can't do it because they're using state and federal dollars, and there are income constraints to it, so those households can't access that fund. And my other question is, are you guys working at all with the continuum of care here locally? Because there is that, YDHP grant, that youth homelessness grant that our community, I don't believe, has applied for. I don't know if they've ever done it or if it's just been, I know in the last 8 years, I've never seen us apply for it, so there's a potential for funding to come in for that.
Thank you, Amber. And seeing Amber's and United Ways praise for a minute, other than us being good friends for years, Amber and I worked together when I was chairman of that continuum of care, and she is amazing, and thank you for offering. And also, as far as that grant goes, yes, we started looking into it, but we haven't got into it as in deep into the pool yet. We plan on doing that, so thank you. That's amazing.
Hey, Adam. My family hosts the Family Promise families. What's the difference between the ones that move from church to church or building to building, and the ones that also have, I guess, apartments that they're renting? I didn't know that they rented apartments. I thought they were just went from church to church and slept over at 1 week at First Baptist Church, and then they moved on.
Yep, so the model has really expanded. So when Family Promise started in this community, it was Interfaith Hospitality Network, and the whole model really was that rotation model from church, 1 week at a time, moving from church to church, 13 churches that hosted. As the need grew, and even as evolution of churches and congregants was changing, it has expanded. So now Family Promise has some landlords they work with, so they can maybe just provide rental assistance. They do a lot of work in prevention. So we know that it's a lot less expensive if you can keep somebody housed versus ever having stepped in the program where kids have to move, all of that. And then that model, and then they're working on, and you'll see on your table, there's a flyer for the new building. So that will be their new static site shelter. So there's just a lot of different programs that they're working on. And St. Francis House also is working, and I don't want to only make this about Family Promise. And Francis House is working on the same issue today with care. I mean, there's lots of people that touch this issue. Catholic Charities works on a lot of funding, we're inviting. So we're very fortunate in this community, and I think this will help answer your question earlier. And most communities are, it's this very collaborative effort because it's not one agency that's going to solve the problem.
Hi, my name is Annie Orlando. I just wanted to share an experience that I had with someone that I had hired a couple of years ago, a woman with 2 young children, and she was being housed in a homeless shelter. And the biggest barrier for people finding a house is having enough money to come up with first, last, security, pass a background check, also pay a application fee. And so this poor woman would be, given a lead to an apartment or a house, and it was costing her most of her paycheck just to apply. And then when they see the voucher, they assume it's Section 8, and the doors start closing. But also on the other side of it, when she did find places, the people who were providing the voucher were saying, oh, well, that door doesn't have 2 ways in and out. That house doesn't have 2 ways in and out. It only had 1 door. You can't live there. Or that house only has 1 bedroom or 2 bedrooms, and you have 2 children. You have to have 3 bedrooms. So is anything being done to address the barriers that are put up? The financial barrier, number 1, which is the easiest, I think, to solve, because if the Housing First program advocates that an organization or somebody actually pays that person's fees and upfront costs and also pays their rent for a year, that's the best way to get them back on their feet. But also the other barriers that are also being imposed on them, is there anything being done about that?
Yes, so I'll touch on, because it's kind of 2 questions. So from the barrier standpoint, a lot of those are just HUD barriers that trickle down to the housing authority as far as vouchers go. So yes, we do have city and county housing authority are within our group. So they're very aware, and we're trying to give them, and realtors are always trying to have feedback with them of where is the barrier and how do we make it easier. I think the easiest answer here is we need more landlords to say yes and take a little bit of a risk. I will tell you the benefit to someone like Family Promise, or a family's been through Family Promise, they have case management. And putting my realtor hat on and property management hat on, a regular tenant that makes an application, what do you do if there's a failure? You post notices, and ultimately if it doesn't resolve, you evict. At least with Family Promise or working with somebody that's providing case management, you have a backup plan and a resource to go to Cherie or Rachel and say, we've got a problem here, how do we work through this and solve it?
One more. How do we bring in more jobs and more industry that create good jobs? Your experience is that there are not enough jobs to go around that pay well. We've got a lot of good regulation in this county, but not a lot of enticing.
I'll get you after Dr. Slade, but sorry, Dink, I'll get you and Dr. Slade next up. Quick answer is yes, there needs to be more jobs, but I think we can argue that people need to be a little more motivated too. I'm not going to be a blind advocate for that, but it's a complicated issue. But yes, I think that people should obviously help themselves, and I'm a big believer, not a hand out, but a hand up. And we're trying to give these kids a hand up today, but it's an excellent point. Thank you, sir.
Well, Brendan's going to stay afterwards, and I think your guests are going to stay too, so I'm sure there's more questions, but we've got to run out of time, unfortunately. I'd like to thank Brendan and Nancy, and I'm sorry to have a certificate for everybody, but we're going to make a donation to the foundation. And this is a tremendously important and complex issue, so I really appreciate you taking it on. Speaking things up, the winning safari is 622. You're adjourned.